Miami was a city of extremes, where the sun kissed the ocean with a golden glow, and the nights shimmered with neon lights and whispered secrets. It was a place where dreams were made and broken, where fortunes were won and lost, and where the line between love and obsession blurred under the heat of the Florida sun. In this city of excess, there lived a couple who seemed to have it all: wealth, beauty, and a life that others could only dream of. Ethan and Isabella Hart were the epitome of success. Ethan, a 45-year-old real estate mogul, had built an empire from the ground up. His sharp mind, ruthless ambition, and undeniable charm had turned him into one of the most powerful men in Miami. He was the kind of man who commanded attention the moment he walked into a room. Tall, with salt and pepper hair, piercing blue eyes, and a smile that could melt even the coldest of hearts. But beneath his polished exterior lay a man who thrived on control, a man who believed that the world owed him everything. Isabella, on the other hand, was the perfect counterpart to Ethan's intensity. At 42, she was a vision of elegance and grace. A former model turned successful interior designer, she had an eye for beauty and a talent for creating spaces that exuded luxury and comfort. Her dark, cascading hair, flawless olive skin, and emerald green eyes made her the envy of every woman in Miami. But Isabella was more than just a pretty face. She was intelligent, fiercely independent, and had a quiet strength that Ethan both admired and resented. Their love story had begun 15 years ago, at a charity gala in South Beach. Ethan had been immediately captivated by Isabella's beauty and poise, while she had been drawn to his confidence and ambition. Their courtship was a whirlwind of romantic dinners, exotic vacations, and grand gestures. Ethan had proposed to Isabella on a private yacht in the Mediterranean, with the sunset painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. It was a fairy tale romance, or so it seemed. Their marriage had started off passionately, filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. They had built a life together in a sprawling mansion in Coral Gables, complete with her infinity pool, a private dock, and a view of the ocean that took your breath away. They hosted lavish parties, attended high-profile events, and were the darlings of Miami's elite. But as the years went by, the cracks in their relationship began to show. Ethan's obsession with work left little room for intimacy, and Isabella's desire for emotional connection went unfulfilled. They began to drift apart, their conversations becoming superficial, their arguments more frequent. The passion that had once defined their relationship was replaced by a cold, unspoken resentment. They were two people living under the same roof, sharing a bed but not a life. It was against this backdrop of fading love and simmering tension that the betrayal occurred. The affair began innocently enough, or so Isabella told herself. It started with a chance encounter at one of her design projects. She had been hired to renovate a luxury penthouse in Betrayal, and the owner, a handsome and charismatic entrepreneur named Lucas Vega, had taken a keen interest in her work. Lucas was everything Ethan wasn't: attentive, warm, and genuinely interested in Isabella's thoughts and feelings. He was 38, with a boyish charm and a smile that could light up a room. His dark, wavy hair and deep brown eyes gave him a magnetic appeal, and Isabella found herself drawn to him in a way she hadn't expected. At first, their interactions were purely professional. They would discuss design ideas over coffee, and Lucas would compliment her on her creativity and vision. But as the weeks went by, their conversations became more personal. Lucas would ask about her life, her dreams, her frustrations. He listened to her in a way Ethan hadn't in years, and Isabella found herself opening up to him in ways she hadn't anticipated. One evening, after a particularly long day at the penthouse, Lucas invited Isabella to stay for a glass of wine. They sat on the balcony, overlooking the glittering skyline of Miami, and talked for hours. The wine flowed freely, and the tension between them grew palpable. Isabella knew she was playing with fire, but she couldn't help herself. For the first time in years, she felt seen, desired, and alive. It wasn't long before their professional relationship crossed the line into something more. What started as lingering glances and subtle touches escalated into passionate kisses and clandestine meetings. Lucas's penthouse became their secret sanctuary, a place where they could escape the pressures of their lives and lose themselves in each other. Isabella told herself that it was just a fling, a way to fill the void in her marriage. But deep down, she knew it was more than that. Ethan, meanwhile, was oblivious to his wife's affair. He was too consumed with his latest business venture, a multi-million-dollar deal that would cement his legacy as Miami's real estate king. But even as he focused on his work, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Isabella had become distant, spending more time on her projects and less time at home. When they were together, she seemed distracted, as if her mind was somewhere else. At first, Ethan dismissed his suspicions as paranoia. But as the weeks went by, the signs became harder to ignore. There were the late nights at the office, the unexplained absences, the way she would quickly close her laptop or silence her phone whenever he entered the room. Ethan's pride wouldn't allow him to confront her directly, so he began to dig deeper. He hired a private investigator, a discreet and efficient man named Victor, who specialized in uncovering the secrets of the wealthy. Victor's report confirmed Ethan's worst fears. Isabella was having an affair with Lucas Vega. The details were damning. Photos of them together at the penthouse, receipts from romantic dinners, and even a recording of a phone conversation in which Isabella confessed her love for Lucas. Ethan's initial reaction was one of rage. He wanted to confront Isabella, to scream at her, to make her feel the pain she had caused him. But as the days passed, his anger gave way to something darker, more calculated. He wasn't just going to confront her, he was going to destroy her. And Lucas Vega? He was going to wish he had never crossed Ethan's heart. Ethan's plan was as meticulous as it was cruel. He knew that simply exposing the affair wouldn't be enough. He wanted to humiliate Isabella, to strip her of everything she held dear. And he wanted Lucas to suffer in ways he couldn't even imagine. The first step was to cut Isabella off financially. Ethan froze their joint accounts, cancelled her credit cards, and transferred their assets into a trust that she couldn't access. He knew that Isabella's independence was one of her most prized possessions, and he wanted to take that away from her. Next, he turned his attention to Lucas. Using his connections in the business world, Ethan orchestrated a series of events that would ruin Lucas's reputation and destroy his company. He spread rumors about Lucas's financial instability, sabotaged his deals, and even planted false evidence of illegal activities. Within weeks, Lucas's empire began to crumble. But Ethan wasn't done yet. He wanted to make sure that Isabella and Lucas would never be able to rebuild their lives. He leaked the details of their affair to the press, ensuring that their scandal would be front-page news. The media frenzy was relentless, with paparazzi hounding Isabella and Lucas at every turn. Their once glamorous lives were reduced to a public spectacle, and the shame was unbearable. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan filed for divorce. He made sure that the terms were as harsh as possible, leaving Isabella with nothing but the clothes on her back. He even took custody of their beloved dog, a golden retriever named Max, knowing that it would break her heart. Isabella tried to fight back, but she was no match for Ethan's ruthlessness. She reached out to Lucas, hoping that they could weather the storm together, but he was too broken to offer her any comfort. The man she had fallen in love with was a shadow of his former self, and their relationship crumbled under the weight of their shared disgrace. In the end, Ethan got everything he wanted. He had destroyed Isabella's life, ruined Lucas's career, and emerged from the scandal unscathed. But as he stood in his empty mansion, surrounded by the trappings of his success, he couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that gnawed at him. Isabella, meanwhile, was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She moved into a small apartment in Little Havana, far from the glitz and glamour of her former life. She took on freelance design projects, struggling to make ends meet. The once proud and confident woman was now a shell of her former self, haunted by the choices she had made. As for Lucas, he disappeared from the public eye, leaving Miami behind in search of a fresh start. But no matter where he went, he couldn't escape the guilt and shame that followed him. The story of Ethan, Isabella, and Lucas was a cautionary tale of love, betrayal, and revenge. It was a reminder that even in a city as beautiful as Miami, darkness could lurk beneath the surface, waiting to consume those who dared to play with fire.